Hi there, I'm Pete. I'm back with my boat. It's been a while since I've taken a video. I've taken a whole bunch of steps since my last video. Can't remember exactly where I left off, but I decided to fix, or at least try to fix, simply because I have nothing to lose at this point. And since I have to replace, bottom line, I have to replace the floor, the transom, and the engine mounts. And that's a lot of work. It's going to take me, probably the rest of the summer. But I'm doing a little bit as I can. And if I have to replace the transom, I decided to close up the OMC hole and put in a Merc. And the easiest way for me to do that was to actually go get a donor boat. In fact, there it is. This boat I got cheap because, well, it's a tri-hull, and wow, it's ugly. Turns out that the trailer is actually better than my trailer, so I'm going to be pilfering that also. And it has a Merc. This is actually what's called a pre-alpha drive. I think it's called maybe a number 1 or an M. I'm not entirely certain. The way there was a little loop here to hold the thing up, that indicates the age, and the ridges here indicate the age. And there's also some other factors, like where these things are. Anyway, haven't figured out exactly how old that drive is, but the oil in it is real clean, so I know the drive is in good shape. And there's it's covered, but there's an inline 6 165 horse engine in there that runs, that I'm going to take to replace my 140 horse. By the time this thing is done, I'm going to have new floor, mounts, transom, a newer drive, and a newer engine. Well, the drive is actually by years probably older than my OMC, but parts are still available, and it's interchangeable with the Alpha 1 Gen 1, and blah blah blah. Anyway, so I made my new transom piece, and this is kind of hard to see. It's already set up with a piece of chopped strand matting that I'm going to use. This is the side that's going to be clamped to the inside of the transom. That board is there because when I clamp the new transom piece, I'm going to put screws completely through it into that board to clamp the whole mess together. And I'm going to wet down that chopped strand matting with a lot of epoxy. It's going to get messy, but I want to make sure it gets a good kind of squish, and I get a lot of coverage epoxy in there. And I also have a million little holes drilled into it kind of throughout, and those holes are there to serve actually a few purposes. They're there to allow, first of all, they actually let me see if the adhesive in my layers in the middle of the transom, if that was cured and dry, which it had been. So essentially those holes allowed me to kind of core my own transom, but those holes will also serve for putting the screws completely through into that board, and some of the holes, I won't use all the holes for screws. Those holes will also be used to kind of let the epoxy kind of squeeze out. Hopefully I'll see some squeeze out, that way we know we have good coverage of epoxy. Anyway, this transom, get around here, this transom I made with 3 layers. They're kind of hard to see in this light, but there's 3 layers. There's a layer of 3/4 inch premium plywood, there's a layer of 1/2 inch sheathing grade plywood, and another layer of 3/4 inch premium grade plywood, screwed together and glued together with Loctite PL premium adhesive, and you can kind of see the lines. Actually, I can't see the lines at all. Let me see if I can find a better. Okay, there. Well, I don't know if you can see these lines. Anyway, there's a little adhesive line right there, and a little adhesive line right there. You can kind of tell. 2 things I've learned. Well, several things I've learned. But with Home Depot quality lumber, you get voids. This is unfortunate. I mean, everyone told me not to go the Home Depot way, but I did anyway because I need to save money, yada yada yada. But you get voids, and sooner or later, I'm stepping on drill. Sooner or later, those voids are going to get water in them, and this transom is gonna rot again. You know, there's another one right there. But you know, and there's another one right there, and another one right there. So there's a lot of voids in this thing. What can I say? That was dumb for me to do that. But is what it is. All right, let me hop in. I'll show you what else we got. Okay, so we've got weird lighting thing. We've got the engine, the outdrive, and everything out. I'm trying to step carefully here. I have cut the stringers here. Whoops, sorry. I've cut the stringers to give me lots of room between the hull here to work with, because this is where the new transom is going to go. Big old gap there. I'm going to do a little bit more sanding and cleaning, but this is that's the backboard that's out there. And when I put the new transom in, I'm just going to, you know, smear epoxy all over this area, and smear epoxy all over here. Get it all real wet and gooey, and as quickly as I can, put the transom up against there and screw it in, and just hope for the best. But I have my drill and screws. I have my little grinder right there, so I can do my cleaning. I have my little stir sticks and acetone and a rag, and I have a quart of epoxy hardener, roller, cup, extra roller. I've got everything I need. I'm actually going to go get another container of epoxy because I'm not sure if a quart's going to do it. This is going to use a lot. Also, just to get a better picture of what else is going on, I've also cut out all of the floor. I'm leaving some pieces in, like this piece, so I have something to stand on. But the whole floor has been cut out. That's the intermediate housing. I got to figure out how to take that off the steering cable. But anyway, the whole floor is being cut out. This piece is over the fuel cell. That'll end up being replaced. And there was a bulkhead. Sorry, a bulkhead right here, and this was the engine compartment in here, and there was a bulkhead up here, and this was just filled in with this two-part foam. There was nothing in there. My new engine is 6 inches longer than my old one. So I'll look at it from this side. So my new, where the beams for my engine ended here, they're going to end something like, you know, here. I haven't taken my final measurements, but so when I get my transom in, I'm going to build my engine mount is going to be just one solid beam instead of having a square mount here and a square mount over there. It's going to have those square supports, and it's going to be supported along the length of it, but it's going to be one long beam that's going to go, you know, probably up to here. But again, I have to take my final measurements to figure out where that beam is going to be, and then I got to put another bulkhead, because the bulkhead was rotten, just like this one is. I'll be taking that one out too, but I'm going to leave that in right now. Then I'm going to put the new bulkhead in, and then I can start, once the transom, the mounts, and the new bulkhead is in, then I can finish this bulkhead, and then I can start cutting in the floor. Let's see, what else? Oh, my transom is actually thicker than I had planned. So much so, in fact, that, well, it's hard to see from that picture. Between the transom and the layer of mat that I have on top of that, and the epoxy and the existing hull, I am right at my maximum thickness for this thing. For at least where the keyhole for the drive is. Now the keyhole for the Merc is much smaller than that OMC hole. So once we get the transom in, I'm going to fill in the OMC hole from the outside with another couple layers of mat and make it flush with the outside. But it can't be any bigger than 2¼ inches. any bigger than 2¼ inches, and it's not going to work. That is per the manual. So I screwed up a little bit. That PL adhesive, I put it in when it was kind of cool one day, and it maybe didn't squeeze out as much as I had hoped, and it made the transom assembly a little bit thicker than I had hoped. So anyway, I got to take my lumps. I got to do what I got to do. But I mean, that's a pretty damn strong piece of wood, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. Anyway, as soon as I have to finish kind of clearing more, grinding more around the old transom, and I have to, you know, grind along the floor a little bit more and clean up with acetone, and then I'll be ready to put the transom in. And man, cross your fingers. I hope that's I hope it's going to be okay. This is one of those deals you kind of got one shot. So anyway, okay, be back later. Okay, so I wanted to show this. I finished cleaning out around it. It looks good. There's just some residual adhesive on there, and I have a good margin there for when I feather in my new epoxy or fiberglass. I've got it all cleaned up with acetone and ready to go, man. So I mean, we're kind of at the point of no return once I start. I had to open the door. It's getting a little fumey in here with that acetone. So anyway, here we go. Wish me luck. Okay. Well, that was a very stressful few minutes. Anyway, the new transom's in. I didn't get it quite centered. I fumbled it a little bit. I think it might be twisted just a little bit, but I guess I'm gonna say that's okay. Ooh, that's a good sign. You see that? That's the epoxy squeezing out from that hole. That's a real good sign. And we also have epoxy leaking out there and there. I mixed 16 ounces of polyester resin and with one layer of matte to get this. And I can see I got some pooling in the bottom. So I mean, I'm taking that to be a good sign that I got good fill, and I got a real good clamp, because I got some screws coming in from this side and some screws going into the other side. Anyway, so let me take a step back. So that's how it looks. That's the new transom, and it's in. And from here it looks pretty straight, actually. So it was real hard to kind of, you know, to manhandle this thing. It's heavy. First of all, the transom was heavy, and I had rubber gloves on, and there was epoxy everywhere. Epoxy, however you pronounce that. And I just had a hell of a time getting that thing into place. But it's in. It's screwed in from this side and the other side, and I got seepage, even seepage coming out a hole, which is what we want. So let me hop down to the outside, and we'll see how that looks. Okay, so there's my clamping board. You can see that I got some screws peeking through from the other side, and I got a bunch of screws that went in from this side. Most of the screws went in from this side because it was easier to just kneel down here, drill pilot holes, and slam screws in there to really get a good clamp on that thing. In fact, I just heard a snap. I don't know if you heard that. I don't know, it's not going to do it again. Anyway, I guess I'm hoping that means it's clamping together, and I'm hoping that means it's not breaking. Anyway, well, we've come as far as we can come today. I guess I could start pulling the old engine from the other boat, but I'm kind of tired. This was a little stressful. So now, it's time for that. Bye, folks.